You ever have one of those days where you think you're just digging a little trench, and then, out of nowhere, the whole world starts spinning sideways? Yeah. Welcome to Lakewood Estates, where my attempt to do a little good for the neighborhood wound up turning our quiet lakeside into ground zero for the strangest thing this town's ever seen. But let me back up a sec, because if I just jump to the blue light shooting out of the water, you'll think I'm nuts. Let's start with the sirens, the kind that rattle the windows and make you freeze with a shovel midair, mud on your boots, hard in your throat. I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee that morning when two cruisers rolled up, gravel crunching under their tires. And there, standing bold as brass in her Sunday best and a sun hat big enough to block a solar eclipse, was Karen, our infamous HOA president, arms crossed, already pointing at me like I'd robbed a bank. "That's him. He's destroying community property," she yelled, and you'd think I'd knocked over the Washington Monument the way she carried on. I could barely get a word in edgewise before the officers, hands hovering on their belts, all business, were walking up slow, like I was liable to bolt. And, in that moment, I realized this was way bigger than just a hole in the ground. I almost had a laugh, honestly, because if Karen knew who had sent me there, or what I was really digging for, she'd probably have thrown herself in front of the shovel just to stop me. But she didn't know. Not yet. As the officers asked me to set down my tools, all serious, like I felt this funny mix of nerves and maybe a little pride. Because this wasn't about to be just another HOA squabble. No, this was about to be the story folks talked about for years. Now, let me rewind to set the scene. Before the chaos, before flashing lights, neighbors gawking from behind their curtains, or dogs barking like they sensed trouble, Lakewood Estates was one of those places that looked peaceful if you drove by slow. Glassy water, sun rising over the lake, kids on bikes, the kind of small-town smell where every yard has fresh grass and somebody's always baking bread. But underneath that postcard, the HOA ran things with an iron fist and a velvet glove. And nobody ran harder than Karen Reynolds. To her, the HOA wasn't a committee. It was her personal fiefdom. If your trash can was out an extra hour, fine. Flowers too bright? Fine. She'd drive around in her little golf cart like a general, sunglasses flashing, clipboard ready to write you up for the crime of painting your mailbox beige instead of approved sand dune. And, of course, I was her favorite target. Name's Daniel Davis, retired from the city water department after 25 years. Figured I'd earn myself a little lakeside peace. Bought a cozy house. Got a good dog named Bruno. Wanted nothing more than a fish and forget about big city headaches. But Karen, well, let's just say she sees new guy and smells paperwork. My first week, she fined me for my mailbox. The next week, it was the flower bed. She'd show up at my door, smile thin as dental floss, and tap her little violation notice like she was handing me a parking ticket from God. "Mr. Davis, you didn't submit Form 12B for your dock." I'd shrug. "It's just a couple boards, Karen." She'd smile. "I'm someone, and I'm bothered." Yeah, that happened. And right then, I realized she didn't care about rules. She cared about power. But what she didn't know was I'd spent my life learning how things really worked in this town, especially the water and sewer lines winding under our feet. So when a mayor called a few weeks back, asking if I could lend a hand getting a new water main installed before the freeze, I said yes in a heartbeat. The new line would bring cleaner water out to the neighborhoods. Felt like doing something real. But the second I started digging near the lake, well, Karen started circling like a hawk. She'd already driven by twice in her golf cart that morning, phone glued to her ear, eyes narrowed to slits. I just kept working, permits taped to my vest, everything signed off by the city. Didn't expect the sirens, but I should have. She rolled up, shouting, "You can't dig there without HOA approval," and I shot back. "Morning, Karen. This project's for the community." That didn't help. "I'll have you fined for property damage, and I'll see to it the board suspends your privileges." That's when I asked, "Don't you ever get tired of making people miserable?" She flinched, like maybe she wasn't expecting that one to sting. Then came the officers. One of them, Officer Daniels, recognized me right away. "Mr. Davis, what's happening here?" But Karen cut in, "He's trespassing. destroying HOA property. He's been digging for hours. Daniel sighed. You got paperwork? I pulled out my letter from the mayor, city seal, and all. Before I could hand it over, Karen snatched it, squinting at the official letter like it was written in Martian. Looks fake, she sniffed. But right then, the radio crackled, dispatch confirming my name and role with the city. You should have seen Karen's face drain of color. I didn't gloat. I just waited while she tried to collect herself. But before anyone could say a word, we all heard a deep metallic rumble rolling in from the other side of the lake. That's when the real trouble started. Picture this. The ground's trembling, Karen's mouth hanging open, the officers ready for anything, and out rolls a massive city utility truck, yellow as a school bus, with Brookhaven Public Works splashed across the side. The crew piles out, hard hats gleaming, and the leader, Hank Big Guy, used to wrestle in high school, waves at me. You already started the trench, Davis? Karen's jaw just about hit the dirt. The cops tried not to laugh. I called out, You're just in time, fellas. Hank grinned. Mayor said full speed ahead. Officer Daniels turned to Karen. Ma'am, looks like your suspect here is telling the truth. Karen stammered, well, I was only doing my civic duty. Sure, Karen. We both knew she just tried to have me hauled off for digging a water main. But I let it go. Karen, I told her, this project's for everyone. Cleaner water, fewer breakdowns, no more yellow faucets. She still looked sour, but for a second, she seemed tired, like she was carrying more than just a clipboard. That afternoon, the work picked up pace, machines buzzing, birds flying off. Karen hung around, arms crossed, whispering to herself about protocol, but not fooling anyone. Around 2 o'clock, though, she stormed back across the lake, phone in hand, yelling about environmental reports. Hank rolled his eyes. Lady, we are the city. But she wasn't listening. She started snapping photos, muttering about erosion and the ducks. Just as she got too close to the trench, her heel slipped, down she went. I dropped my shovel and caught her arm just in time. For a moment, her tough shell cracked. Thank you, she muttered. I saw something different in her eyes right then. Not anger, but exhaustion. Maybe under all that bossiness, she just forgot what kindness looked like. We thought things might settle down after that, but peace doesn't last long around Lakewood. That evening, as the crew packed up and the sun set gold over the lake, I noticed a shimmer in the water. Bruno started growling, ears flat. At first, I figured it was just moonlight. Then the water rippled again. Something big was down there. I barely had time to wonder when footsteps crunched behind me. Hank stepped out of the dark. He'd forgotten some fittings in the truck, nearly scared me half to death. But that shimmer in the water, I couldn't shake it. The next morning, we got back to work early. Karen showed up again, this time in boots and an old sweater, eyes dark like she hadn't slept. You saw it too, didn't you? She asked, staring at the lake. Saw what? That shimmer, she whispered. It wasn't the moon. Hank chuckled. Probably just a fish. But Karen shook her head, pale and spooked. A little later, as we connected the first valve, Mateo, a new kid, yelled, Hey, pressure's dropping. Hank rushed over. Suddenly, a jet of water shot from the trench. Then, mud collapsed in, swallowing part of the trench wall. Right there in the muck, something huge and round gleamed, rusted, curved, sealed with thick bolts. Old letters faded by time. What is that? Karen whispered. Hank squinted. Old tank, maybe from the irrigation days. But I wasn't so sure. Karen stood frozen, whispering, My husband used to talk about something buried near this lake. Now, that was news. Karen had never mentioned her late husband to anyone before. Storm clouds rolled in as we fenced off the area, thunder echoing the low growl I'd heard the night before. By evening, rain came in sheets, lightning turning the lake to silver. I barely slept, mind spinning with questions. Around midnight, the power flickered out. I saw movement near the trench, a figure with a flashlight, kneeling by the pit. I grabbed my own light and raincoat, Bruno close behind, and headed down. It was Karen, face pale, soaked to the bone. Don't come closer, she warned, but before I could answer, the ground collapsed. The tank groaned, blue light leaking from inside. I dove, caught her wrist, dragged her out just as the thing cracked open, releasing a burst of light and a rush of water. "What do they bury here?" I asked, shaken. Karen's voice trembled. "My husband said the town's biggest secret was under this lake, something they built, then tried to erase." The next day, the metallic object was gone, vanished from the muddy pit. The city inspector, Reed, showed up all smooth talk and fake smiles. "Nothing's buried here. Lake's natural," he lied. I caught Karen's eye. We both knew he was hiding something. That evening, as I walked Bruno, I found a corroded metal pipe near the shore. From inside, a steady hum pulsed, mechanical, alive, like a heartbeat deep underground. Karen showed up, scared, said she felt vibrations in her house. We listened together. The hum stopped. Suddenly, a crash echoed from across the lake. Something heavy fell in, water splashing high. "We're leaving," I told her, and we hustled back up the hill. That night, Karen finally told me. Her husband had been an engineer, supervised the lake construction back when it was called Hydroline 9, not Lakewood. Said the military was involved, that something classified was buried beneath. If they ever dig near the lake again, get out, he'd warned her. We didn't have a chance. Early next morning, men in black suits and unmarked trucks took over the lakeshore, running sensors, locking the place down. Caution tape everywhere. Then, from the lake, a blue beam shot skyward, so bright it turned night into day. Every bird vanished in a blink. Federal agents barked orders, fenced off the neighborhood, started unloading strange machines. Karen and I watched, helpless. When the lake pulsed again, blue veins crawling through the earth toward the houses, everyone panicked. The agent told us, "If you really work utilities, Mr. Davis, you know some systems were built for more than water." The blue glow started rising through the power lines, lights exploding up and down the block. That's when I realized the hydrocore wasn't just buried tech. It was alive, and it was waking up. With the ground splitting under our feet, I told Hank and Karen, "We have to cut the power at Ridgeview. It's the only way to stop it spreading through the grid." We ran to Karen's house, dug up her late husband's binder, found the old diagrams. He'd written about a failsafe, a coil that could trigger a shutdown if we pulled the power rods at the substation. So, through the storm, we barreled in my old Ford to the ridge, dodging barricades, chased by soldiers, the whole valley lighting up blue behind us. At the substation, everything buzzed, lines sparking, air crackling, the whole place glowing. Karen found the regulator diagram. I wrenched open the panel, pulled the first rod, pain shot up my arm. Pulled the second, the hum faltered. Third one was stuck. I yanked, muscles screaming, and with a snap the blue glow faded. But the lake wasn't done. The energy roared back, surging through the grid. Karen pointed the main relay. Together, soaked and shaking, we slammed the lever down with every ounce of strength. The world went white, then silent. The blue glow vanished, the hum died, and rain fell gentle on a valley, suddenly still. The hydrocore had gone quiet. We stared out at the lake. No more light, no movement, just water. "It's over," Karen whispered. I nodded. But deep down, I felt it, a faint vibration under my boots like a heartbeat waiting. And you gotta wonder, what would you do if you learned your town was built on top of something alive, something the world tried to forget? Would you fight for the truth, or let sleeping giants lie? So tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your thoughts below. Is it justice to keep secrets for safety, or does the truth always find a way to the surface? And if you've ever tangled with an HOA, or with something bigger, let's hear your story. This one's gonna keep me up at night.